All
All
right.
right.
Well, unmute it right before. Just count us down so that they know when to start the clock.
I'll do the countdown.
All right.
Hardcore. Uprising.
Yes, we are.
All right, everybody. Hello. Thank you all for your patience. After a little bit of this and that, we're finally ready to present to you Hardcore Uprising, which will be run by our friend Queen B83 here. My name is Tempest Mask 1000, and the other wonderful co-commentator right next to me will be.
Anti-Aaron.
And this category will be the Rising mode for Sayori, which
Yes.
is one of the few DLC characters to this game. For those that don't know, this is an official prequel to Contra Hardcore and the original Contra, which is still available on the Xbox and PlayStation 3 marketplace. So if you'd like to give this game a shot, if we've convinced you that this game is super rad, then definitely feel free to look into it. But for now, we're going to get right into it. So QB, set up. Like we said, though, this is one of the few DLC characters, and this will feature sword gameplay as compared to your usual run and gun style. But it's definitely going to feel quite a bit like Contra for sure. All things considered, Rising mode is a very accessible story mode, which allows you to jump back into stages as you see fit, while also giving you the ability to upgrade the game. And so, yeah, that's basically the down low behind other things.
Start
But
clock.
we're gonna get the countdown once we are ready on the loading screen.
Yep, and we're ready to go.
All right, cool. We'll begin in 5,
Well,
4, 3, 2, 1. Contra.
Contra or Contra Gaiden, as I like to call it, with Sayuri, because it's a hack and slash. You don't have to, you just diagonally you can go through, and you really, don't have to worry about much. And since that this is a Contra game, we got to have our free wall boss. It's a Contra game, and
Pretty much, yeah.
and for a lot of old Contra runners, hey, look, it's the energy zone, calling back to us.
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, this game is definitely going to make at least a few nods to the standard Contra affair. Now, you're probably wondering when we'll be seeing aliens. Don't worry, that'll be coming later. We 100% show you that.
Yes, we will.
But for now, in case you're wondering how this all plays out, well, for those that don't know, the original Contra Hardcore on Genesis actually had a health bar in the Japanese version, which is why you actually see this within this game. There was a lot of detail and a lot of consideration put into Arc System Works, who was responsible for this particular game with overall supervision and support done by Konami, of course. Not really much to say at the moment, but basically, when it comes to a rising mode speedrun, we usually want to put in as much preparation and unlocking to the upgrades as we can. But sometimes there's also a few things that we don't necessarily need. Aaron, could you explain?
Well, that would be in a gunner mode, but yeah, but till then, with Sayuri, you want everything. You want the auto fire, because all you gotta do is just hold down a button and you can just watch, hack and slash away. And she tried to do the setup to get right in front, and she is standing right on the hole. So she is going to get a little bit of a kickback. Hopefully, she can recover.
This is the first major boss of the game, the Lotus Worm. The general weak point will be the head, but it is possible to destroy the segments if they are exposed enough to get a few power-ups. We don't usually need to worry about that, though. Generally speaking, it's a simple boss to tear through, especially with the sword slashing, because just like that, it's already done so.
Exactly.
We
Hot
do
knife
have
through butter.
one last... What was that?
A hot knife right through butter.
You got that right. But it seems that our friendo that just got eaten up is still very much alive and wants a little bit of comeuppance, so now we're just going to have to face off against him again. If you get the health bar to half, it's going to do a phase change. Not really too much else to explain here.
Because it's done. And it's gone. And now comes
Now we
the
got a
hardest trick
helicopter
of
to
the
catch.
game. The hardest trick of the game: jumping off and landing on the helicopter. And we
Ooh,
just overshoot by a little bit, but that happens. That's why we have
indeed it does.
30 lives.
Yeah, so you might have noticed that we do indeed start with 30 lives. Probably one of the most expensive upgrades within the game. It's a
Mhm.
clear-cut callback to the economy code in the first game, which had the same purpose, except this time we basically got to work our way toward it. No big deal.
No, no big deal at all. You unlock it after you beat the entire game.
Indeed. So, and unlockables overall are also sort of unlocked the more you purchase. So, for instance, if you were to build up a gunner class, you would basically start by purchasing a level 2 insta upgrade to a certain type of gun, which would then unlock you the level 3, so to speak. That was another energy wall, by the way. It was
Yep.
clearly not going to hold tight as I was trying to explain that very
Nope,
detail.
but it had to be in a jungle just to get the point across.
Indeed. The jungle,
And
of
the
course, being the
and the
very
poison
first.
plants.
Oh yeah, no. The poison plants are especially annoying about this particular level. If you do get poisoned, you will not be able to run until the poison effect wears off. Of course, it also wears down your health bit by bit. So, of course, it's just a nasty status to have overall.
Right, because you can't run, you can't, air dash. You are stuck to a walking motion until it wears off. And now
Very
comes
much
our
so.
first mini boss, the helicopter. Can she get the the grab? Founded by Phantomire and Slurpy Ninja, and nope, she just couldn't get. She just couldn't make it, but that's okay. Just because you
So
miss
that's a
it, you
phase
can.
one. It looks like
Yep,
she was able to grab onto half the helicopter, and that's exactly what we were trying to do there on the first phase. But the good news is you can still do it here, and even then, these fellas are just very, very weak to the strongest of weapons that you have at your disposal. So it's no big
yep,
deal.
yep.
I will say that that portion of level 2 is where we usually recommend grinding because those crocodiles, those robo-gators right there, usually go for at least 3,000 core points apiece, which then continues to increase the more you have your combo multiplier built up. It's basically how core points work, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, and you can also farm all of the DP bombs that are dropping. So you do the bomb, and then the gators, and then you repeat for about 20 minutes until you're up and combos max. And here is Leviathan, which he can be a pain in the butt. As you can see, he almost teleported, which is a random area he will spawn, so you don't want to be running back and forth trying to find him. So
That will be the
thankfully she
first of
got
a
him in
few
the easy
fights with
phase.
Leviathan.
Yep,
Sorry.
yep, that is right. That is the first of two.
Well, technically 3, but that'll be more of a chase.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Up next is the ruins, which is a fun area of platforming.
But it also is
So
going to introduce what is probably my least favorite of the enemies within the game. These particular gorilla-like fellas with stretchy arms, which at face value also kind of reminded me of Skullgirls' Cerebella, I believe her name was. Basically, how they work is when you damage them enough and they're about to explode, they can release chunks of debris that can still damage you. So what you just saw QB do right there was basically stand for just a little bit right there and obliterate the chunks as they were about to fly off.
yep, and with Sayuri you have a ninja jump, but which can make you impervious. But she's getting a little panicked and flustered.
Which, of course, that can definitely happen within a bit
And
of
the
a
bats are the
well-timed
biggest
stretch.
trolls, and the bats are the biggest trolls of the game.
Absolutely.
Come on,
Like,
girl.
those sound waves are just the worst. But hey, with the camera progressing a little bit, we do get to move on now. And hopefully
It
that'll be the last time we see those bats.
Yeah, it just didn't help that she fell into the pit, which will which causes her double damage to no longer be effective. But The sword still does a lot of damage, even without a double damage. You just can't do a one cycle.
Now we're moving into the 573 Tigress fight. We're actually going to see this boss appear twice, and that'll actually be the only boss. There are no mini bosses per se, just this fella. And just like that, we strike the core, no big deal. Now, it is worth mentioning that this game also does feature a tried and true arcade mode, which features much more limitations to it. But if you basically got to see some of the attacks that the Tigress could do, it's mostly laser beams as far as things go.
Yep, it's laser beams, it's balls of fire, and it's the laser right out of the eye. Yeah, she's being very careful through here.
Yeah, because if you hadn't caught on yet, your character will fall off a wall or get knocked back in air. So knockback is definitely one of the really annoying things about this game, but it's also meant to provide a challenge because while Sayuri doesn't necessarily have particular gun types for her weapon, there is the whole usual Contra rule where if you do get a power up and you take a hit, then normally you would lose it. Of course, within Rising mode's many list of upgrades, there is a way to mostly negate it. It's called Tough Guy, in which the only way you would then lose your power is either by dying or if you take knockback damage.
Yes, that is true.
So now we're
as we
falling
go
down
to-
a waterfall, another one of those classic Contra references,
Yep.
know, like how the original game had us going up, when
Yep.
instead we just
Go down
in
it.
the river, no dying.
I gotta have all of those happy references, and for all those like, oh, waterfall. You mean I don't have to climb it? No, just go down it.
Very much so.
And now,
Now, I said that this boss would be back, and it's now the Draconis. We just got a few weak points to whittle down, and then eventually we'll defeat this boss to the point where it'll want us to get off and back onto a helicopter.
Yep, and thankfully she didn't have a end of life in this phase, because if you lose all your health and have to do a whole new life, it would go to the next phase, which is a phase we don't want, because that takes forever and is brutal. Brutal.
All right, that's the end of Mission 3. We are nearly halfway through the game. There is a total of 8 stages, and for those curious about if we have a little something extra for this category, there is something called All-Star Chips, which you might have seen one before QB selected Stage 1 to begin the run. How that basically plays off is there are these hidden star chips through each of the levels, collecting each of them. Well, first and foremost, the game, if you've done this for the first time, gives you a full-on achievement for that. But otherwise, yeah, the category is basically as explained. No further explanation needed.
As a person in our chat says, it's a callback to Operation C is the boss.
I actually didn't know that. That's actually something I just learned today.
Same here. So now we
Now
have
we're
the
moving on to the
auto-scroller. Yep, which is an easy auto-scroller. Just a bunch of helicopters and cops and a hoverboard. For Konami fans, we can say Neon Knight Riders.
You know, that's a very good callback if I do say so myself.
Yes, you got it.
All right, so far looking pretty good.
Yep,
Not really
and
much to worry about here. Everything is within a particularly set pattern as far as things go.
helicopter lessons. I guess they never learned.
For those that are curious about the plot behind this game, it takes place in 2613, where the world is mostly under the rule of the oh shoot, what was it? The Commonwealth?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe it was called the Commonwealth. Basically, it is this group that is in charge of the world, but the world do not like them, and the man in charge, Tiberius, is kind of a baddie, so it's up to us, the Resistance, to take him down.
Yep, and for Sayuri, Tiberius is her adopted dad, so we basically are out to destroy our father.
Most certainly. If you play along with some of the descriptions before each of the level loads, you can get a good idea of the description of the story as it goes along. So, and considering that this game does get mainly timed by IGT, it's not necessarily a hindrance if we say wanted to read those on purpose. So
Exactly.
basically, it gives a bit of lenience overall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that in mind, the whole idea behind the IGT timing, as it were, is that we do want to try and a valid run would obviously mean having to complete the game in a full-on sitting, which, you know, if something were to happen to that, no big deal. But overall, it's also just overall consistent, especially since, as I mentioned, this game is available on the Xbox family, which does mean you can indeed play this on an Xbox One or
And she's
an
playing on
Xbox
it
Series
now.
XS.
And she's playing on it now. She's playing on a Xbox One. If it is me versus her, I'm playing on the Xbox 360 because it has a longer load time. PlayStation 3 has a little bit of a faster load time, and the Xbox has a faster load time. So,
Right.
but the in-game time will always be the same.
That's
So
correct.
you're not
So
really losing out.
Right.
Oh,
Any platform that you decide to get this game on is perfectly viable. And that's one of the things I definitely appreciate about Hardcore Uprising.
people do wish that it is on, like I mean Steam and beefy Switch and whatnot. It's like everybody's asking, but are they going to be? Can they give it to the people?
Yeah, you can't get everything sometimes. But hey, if Arc System Works does happen to be listening and does hear us out, I'd totally be down for it. The thing is, this game is digital only, so it's not like you can find any physical copies in the store and whatnot. But that's also
And
one of the nice things, too, because when this game is on sale, which was how I got it, then hey, there you go.
And now comes our tanker truck, which is always a blast, especially as a gunner, because you'll have the other phase that it will go to, which, yep, this phase, this wonderful, wonderful phase.
In case it wasn't apparent, we were trying to avoid that because with the truck moving out of the way, it's impossible to damage it while the obstacles are just falling a la Donkey Kong style and stuff like that.
Yep. Understand.
So basically, what QB just asked for is to give her serious time once we get to this particular boss. So I'll just quickly explain right away that it is within multiple phases. Generally, it's kind of a shoot 'em up, shmup sort of style thing when putting into the hoverboard as compared to this gameplay style of movement that you're seeing right now.
A Gradius
Overall, we
boss.
want to hit the weak points.
It's a Gradius boss. So
All
here we
right, here
go.
we go.
Pinwheel.
It's not over.
All right. Now we're in the second phase, which is so much easier. So we just hit our sword and attack.
Pretty much, yeah. But of course, as
Then
Aaron mentioned, this is basically a Gradius boss, and the boss loves to shoot bullets everywhere, which can easily make this a pain in the rear for sure. Other than that, this phase is generally simpler because once you get the health bar to certain sections, it will start to change operations like so.
Yep, and all you're doing is just trying to hold your strife and keep a forward attack on it.
Looks like we're almost there though.
Yep. She gets low so she can get a quicker kill, and she nails it perfect.
Nicely done. All right, that'll be stage 4. Now we're moving on to stage 5. And, well, this is a Konami game, so I guess this was a bit inevitable. But Metal Gear Solid? Metal Gear Solid.
Yes, it is. Although we're not hiding in a box, but we
Nope.
can hide in the box if we want to. But
Most certainly, but no,
why
not today.
would we? Why would we?
Mm-mm.
Because we got to go fast.
This is a speed run, gosh darn it.
Exactly.
So, with
Look at
that,
these-
we are now entering the capital. Our mission is going to be to save a particular Dr. Geo Mandrake, who is currently defecting from the Commonwealth and is supposedly going to give us some very helpful information. Now, the stealth sections actually can reset if you stay out of the line of sight with the enemies for long enough, but of course, we're just going to run, and there's really not much stopping us aside from,
A couple doors that we can just totally destroy with our sword a whole lot quicker than we can with a gun,
yeah, most certainly.
and that normally happens
Mm-hmm.
because those guys are pests. So we
Yeah,
just
enemy
chop through the
bullets.
door.
Enemy bullets are capable of phasing through walls, if that wasn't obvious.
Yep. And so far we are through with no issues because there is a chance of a VC there. Because in this area, it's if you have a PS3 or a old Xbox, you will see all of the spots on where it has a stop and go because that is where it is a loading area. And if you have a whole lot of things, happening in that area as it is doing a crossover, it will cause a VC crash. Because I've noticed that I was like, why is it crashing here? And then I play on the other ones, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop. It's like that's why I was on that spot. And now the lava, the lava area, which is so much fun.
Everything's on
Thankfully-
fire, but we'll be fine.
Yep, and thankfully that these guys are here to give us a hand.
So ultimately, if you're also probably hearing a shing sound effect, which is actually Sayori charging up the blade to do that long-range projectile attack. This, in the gunner equivalent, would be the heated plasma gun, which is a very effective thing for sure, and the shots can also penetrate bullets as well. So basically, that's what we're looking at in sword format.
And
we
now
got the good
our
doctor
escort. Yep. Yeah, she
So despite the
bypasses
fact that it looks like he could take a long time to catch up, and despite the fact that he might tell us to slow the heck down, we have our ways.
Nope. The only thing that you don't want is for him to take a lot of hits, because if he loses all of his health, you lose a life, which is not fun.
Luckily, it's not as punishing as completely game overing if that were to happen. Otherwise, we would really have something to be concerned about there.
Yep. And welcome to the start of the Alien Wars.
Yep, we said there's going to be an alien, and now here you go.
Yep. The alien pod. So our goal is to take out these arms. Because as you can see, they will cause a lot of chaos. So one is the happy laser beams, and the next one is shooting fire at us. And she's doing this pretty well. She needs to get that last arm. It happens. Very good. And now comes this, where we have the other area, which is going to be giving us the pre-Darth Maul, a few sabers. But since we have a sword, we don't really have to worry about that. And stage is complete, and we have started a intergalactic incident.
So in level 6, we are now going to be going through some trains. Do you like trains? I like trains.
That's a good song.
Indeed it is.
And this
Shout
is
out to Tom
our,
Ska.
Yep, and this is our last auto scroller. The hardest of the auto scrollers, because these trains take damage. And they can blow up at all three at a time if need be. Which is not
This
fun.
might be the point where you're starting to wonder if we've entered into a Michael Bay film or not.
Well, I think we have, because with all these mechs in a subway, yeah. Then we got to ask ourselves, how did that helicopter get in here?
Oh yeah, no, now that you mention it though, I legit have to wonder how it got in there.
It's either Michael Bay or Christopher Nolan.
I mean, I guess that's a thought, yeah.
And as you
Okay,
can
so these
see, our
flamethrowers.
ninja jump is giving you impervious, or a bubble jump for our OG Contra fans.
It is possible to purchase an upgrade that gets you a triple jump as well, so...
Yep.
Those flamethrowers, though, are very beefy. It's definitely not worth trying to take them down unless you are maybe trying to go for score purposes or perhaps trying to keep your combo alive, but other than that, really not worth it.
Nope. Because you can actually dodge them by going up and down on the train. As you can see, of them hanging on the bar, you can hang on the bar as well.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of safety, and obviously hanging on the bar. Hanging on the bar is how the game intended you to dodge the flamethrower section if the ninja jump is not an option whatsoever. But we don't need to worry about that.
That's right, Slormer. That's right. No, put it in reverse.
Yeah. Like if it wasn't painfully obvious this is an auto scroller, this most certainly is an auto scroller.
And all of them are spawning in the same exact spot. So if you know where everyone spawns, you can just take them out a whole lot easier, and that train's about ready to blow.
Yep. And just like that, it'll decouple as well. But we should be coming up on our first of the mini bosses within this particular section.
Yep. Which, having Sayuri makes it so much easier. So much easier. And if you have a gunner, you want a laser, because that also cuts through it like a hot knife. Just as well.
Very much so. Laser gun being very much a homing shot of sorts, not unlike that of the electric shot from Gunstar Heroes, if you are familiar.
That's exactly what it is.
To be fair, the electric
And the homing.
flame.
The homing and the electric combined as one.
True, I did forget about the homing shot.
Yeah.
Particularly there being a actual homing element. But yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, if you are curious about the overall playable characters, there is a total of 5. Sayuri, as I mentioned, she's one of 3 DLC characters. Gaining the game at its base gives you Bahamut and Crystal. Bahamut being a little bit tankier, Crystal being a little bit faster. We also got the 2 other characters, Harley Daniels as well as Leviathan, surprisingly enough.
Yep.
So
And Leviathan is the hardest of all of... He's the hardest of them all. He's fast. He is really fast. He tosses bombs. He has a backflip and a slide. but you can only hold one upgraded weapon. So
Yeah.
yeah, that hurts.
Hmm.
And he doesn't have a tough guy at all.
I didn't even know that one.
Yeah,
Oof.
he doesn't have tough guy.
So yeah, that would essentially make Leviathan more of an expert challenge if you're most certainly feeling it. But yeah,
And in
no, the
arcade, you have
amount.
only one hit point. Only one hit point in arcade mode.
Oh yeah, that would
That's
do it.
yep.
But yeah, if it wasn't obvious, this game has a bunch of options on how you can play it to your liking. So I'd say this is probably what makes the Hardcore Uprising a very accessible Contra run to learn in general.
Yeah, and this is why I had to make every character have their own you know, every speedrun spot because I'm like it can't just be a single gunner. It's got to be every gunner, each one having their own
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah, they all have their differences and for good
Yeah.
reason.
Yep.
But that's level 6 done. We are nearing the end of the game. First
And
and
he was
foremost,
poorly trained, and Arachnia, he was poorly trained.
I almost hate you for that pun, but love you at the same time.
We all have to call that pun. Every runner has to call that pun.
For those that don't know, I'm actually a bit of a learning runner myself, so I'll have to keep
Yep.
that in mind.
Well, you are going to trying to be learn how to be a gunner, so which is always good to have because we need to have a bunch of gunners. Sayuri is the easiest of them all, but for hardcore Contra fans, we have a gunner, so you got to learn them all because it's fun and you learn all different strats on how to play each stage.
Now, as we are going into stage 7, we are climbing up the Commonwealth's tower, and we will eventually meet Tiberius himself. Now, if it wasn't obvious, this game does clearly have an English dub cast. I can't confirm this one myself, ironic considering I usually like to do my research when it comes to voice acting, but I do imagine this was more than likely a cast of folks procured from Japan itself, which is definitely not uncommon for certain games if you are familiar with the English dub cast of the well, the Mega Man X game that likes to be forgotten, X7, that was definitely the case where enough folks were English speaking voice actors that worked from Japan. That's definitely not to say that the voice acting here is by any means bad. It's just that if you probably have heard some of the heavier enemies go to hell, and that's just one of the I kind of consider that one of the charming things about Hardcore Uprising in general. Just the fact that you have all sorts of folks trying to come at you only to fall victim to your blade or gun or whatever, and it's just the details that I appreciate.
Oh yeah, and everyone has their own intro and outro and victory speech. And she has the fast elevator, which is really good. It went up fast instead of going up very slowly.
Also, surprise, surprise, you can actually climb through those electric wall grids without taking any damage.
Well, the first two are out wider. All the others are a whole lot closer, so you have to use your ninja jump to get to hop through. And now she's gonna come up to a strat that I found is the helicopter skips. So what you want to do is right there is be right on the deep and gray area for the first one. The second one, you want to have your hand right on the dot
It's not over.
or close to it, and not scroll the screen up any more than you have to. And she did that perfectly.
Basically, death abuse involved, so having the extra live upgrades within Rising mode is definitely something that we would more than recommend.
And since this is a hard corpse, got to have your rockets, right?
Yeah, missile climbing
Yep.
at its finest.
Thankfully, it is vertical and not horizontal trying to kill a boss. But
Not really much else to say here at the moment. But we certainly hope you all are enjoying the run. Queen Bee has been killing it so far.
she
And
has been.
if you all want to give this game a go yourselves and maybe learn a strat or two, we will go ahead and say right away that there is a Contra speedrunning Discord for you all to join. You can find the Discord link attached to the leaderboards on speedrun.com. We are always appreciative of any newcomers, no matter which game you would like to give a shot. Just don't be shy, come say hi, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Yep. And if you are also a fan of Ninja Gaiden, that's what Sayuri is for. So it's Contra Gaiden, it's Contra, it's two things coming together as one.
Most certainly. And that right there, that fella that was just talking to us from the elevator before everything went on fire, once again, this is fine, is Tiberius himself. He's the big bad, and we will be seeing him very soon. For now, we are undergoing what is, I guess you could say, a fight and a half with Leviathan, except it's more of a chase section.
Yep.
I already spoiled that, though.
That's all right. It's a chase, and he is tossing bombs. There is a way to get through this easy, but it's still difficult because not only does he toss bombs, he will bull rush us. He will toss a bomb and take out an entire floor. And coming up is going to be the fun type of platforming, as we can see.
We got some elevators.
No, we have.
Sorry, I meant umbrellas.
Yeah, we have umbrellas.
What was I? Hello?
You're fine.
It happens to me every once in a while, folks.
It's okay, Mary Poppins.
You know what? Fair enough. Okay, but yeah, that's Leviathan right there. He's just trying to chase us down. We don't really care about that, so he's just going to go on and try and pick up yet another mech. Similar to the first one in Stage 2, this one's going to be a different type of knight that's going to feature a bit more of a broadsword, but hey, we already got the sword. Our sword is superior. We're going to try and prove that right away.
Exactly.
That said, though, if you are enjoying the art style of this game, that is definitely something that we can all owe to Arc System Works, considering that they usually tend to make some amazing sprite work.
A Guilty Gear, if you know that game.
Or even Blaze Blue, or perhaps Persona 4 Arena, Under Night, all those good stuff.
And he's down. And
now we're moving on
to the, how do I say, I like to call it, it's a mother-in-law.
I guess you could say that. I mean, this thing does share the name with Gungrave's pistols, but looks absolutely nothing like it.
No.
This thing is called Cerberus, and if you play this on just about any other character, you're probably going to be a bit annoyed by this fella.
Yeah, especially if you have a pea shooter. So what we do is we just aim up. And then aim down. And
going for the crouch slash, nice.
Yep, that's the best way of doing it. So just easy, like you can do it blindfolded.
Which is exactly what you do.
Yeah, I have beaten this game blindfolded.
A very, very awesome accomplishment, might I add.
Thank you.
Hey, no problem.
You played
that said, though,
a year straight? Yeah. We're on to the end.
Moving straight up to Stage 8, which we are riding a missile to Tiberius's battleship, which is probably one of the coolest ways to enter. Don't at me. And yeah, really we're basically going to settle the score.
Yep.
Unforgivable.
Yes. Because the carousel is basically a nod to Gunstar Heroes if you think about it, just a little bit, a little nod.
Yeah, so basically there will be another boss that does a bit of spinning, and once we get to that, it'll be some more serious time for QB. In the meantime, we do have a little more of a callback to the desert stage, stage one, where we do some more driving, auto scrolling, stuff like that. Yeah, pretty much stuff, just things happening. Not really much to say.
No, we have our 2 phases. Then we give our shout out to the only Joey with Biker Mice to Mars. Because we care about our players, we give them their fair share of a shout out. And
Yeah, I
now,
always like giving shout outs no matter what.
and now, and now the gauntlet, as I like to call it.
Yeah, a lot of enemies coming your way. Those little setups with the blue and red gates, if that wasn't clear at first, basically those reflect shots. Once they start flashing within those translucent screens, that means they're about to shoot back at you, and so you want to be very careful of that. But
Yep.
having a blade usually means we don't have to worry much or at all. All right, just going to do a little more climbing.
Yep.
You'll also notice those laser cannons trying to pick us down. There will be a couple of sections coming right now where we're going to have to hang off of a missile. Unfortunate, but luckily
that's
it
why
did
we
make
screen
it
scroll.
through. Yeah,
Yep,
that's
that's why we screen scroll. And now comes the carousel.
all right. We're going to give her more serious time, but basically how this works is it's going to go through different phases, each having their own little gimmick. You'll see what we mean.
Yep.
Here we go.
Here we go. Nicely done. There we go. As you can see,
Nicely
it's very
done.
difficult. Why she needs the concentration because of the pistons and the carousel going back and forth and trying to stay on top. Yep. And she pulled that off flawlessly.
Absolutely. Yeah, that boss can just be if something goes wrong with that boss, you're definitely going to feel it for sure. But
Yeah, especially
good
if
news.
you fall on the ground as a sword, you cannot hit it back and forth because it's just too fast.
Good news is that was practically our final mini boss. We are now moving into the Tiberius fights, which will be our final boss.
Yep.
This fella likes to go back and forth between using these little wave projectiles, which you can slash out, but then he also has at least 2 types of punches. One where it's a series of ground punch dashes, and then he'll
And Bison
otherwise say,
style.
go to hell, and just jump around, basically. But
Yep.
that's it. That's already phase 1. We're moving on to phase 2.
Which is a little bit harder. But we have our sword, so but he is very tricky and sneaky. So over, you don't want to over jump. Well, he's
He's
being
being
a
big.
troll. He's
Yeah.
being a troll now, but that's okay.
That is what Tiberius does.
Yep, she has the health for it.
Most certainly. And down goes the second form, which you saw it do that little weakening animation right there. That's absolutely mandatory. The game just requires you to shoot it after it has,
Hmm.
simmered down a little, basically. Give it the final nudge. But
Yep.
now,
And our call to Empire Strikes Back, since we just shot down our daddy, who didn't. So we call for Princess Leia.
to eventually pick us up because, as it turns out, Daddy is not quite dead yet.
Nope.
So now we're going to be moving into the final phase right here.
How is your platforming? Because there is no ground.
And Tiberius Invictus has a way of making you suffer here.
Yes.
Particularly, this entire battlefield is going to consist of scrap from the ship itself. The thing to note about this, especially if you are playing as a gunner, is that those little helicopter bodies that are stumbling down, those all contain different sorts of gun power-ups that you can collect. The one
They're
that's
all
to the
the
middle
same.
right
They're
is
all the
the
same.
laser.
Yep.
So you usually want to have that for this particular fight. But other than that, yeah, no, he's already down. We are going to be coming up on time very soon. That will be once QB grabs onto the helicopter. So we got one more copter jump to make.
And we have to actually land and grab it for it to finally end, because if we lose all of our lives, we have to redo the fight.
And trust me, that's happened to me on my first casual playthrough. Not fun.
Oh yeah, it's happened to me a lot trying to hit it without seeing and time. Yes, that is time.
We did it.
Congratulations.
You did it.
GG, that was an awesome run. What is your time? That is perfect.
Nicely done.
Nicely
And
done.
a true
GG.
warrior rank to end it off.
Yep, and the chat is standing up in applause.
All right. Well, QB, would you like to say any special thanks before we start to close things off? Oh, hang on. I don't think your mic is coming through yet. Hang on. Let me help you out there.
It's your cog. It's your cog. It's your
No,
cog.
it's fine. We'll just have it go through my microphone. Start saying things.
They've been there through the whole thing.
Absolutely. And once again, if you'd like to join the Contra Discord, you can find the link to it on our speedrun.com leaderboards.
Also,
Yeah, not much
give,
else really.
give a shout out to Aaron for teaching me the game. Be prepared. The student is coming for the teacher.
She's coming for me.
Also, if you jump over to my Twitch channel, it's Queen Bee 83. I'm always streaming every weekend in this game, and every day it gets better. I also have another marathon coming up next weekend, the second on Girls Go Fast. So jump over there and see me over there too.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
If you'd like to catch me, my name is TempestMask1000 on here through Twitch and both YouTube. My Twitter at It's Tempest Steve. Aaron, where can they find you?
They can find me at Anti-Aaron. I stream almost every day in the early mornings, and every weekends at nights.
With that, that'll be Hardcore Uprising with Rising Mode and Sayori. Again, this game is available on the PlayStation 3 store as well as Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Series XS. Definitely a great game. big shout out to Arc System Works for making this happen. And we'll throw it on back over to GG Speedruns. Everyone, enjoy the rest of the event.
Have a good day.